All right. I think like you should just like do and you read. I'll introduce myself, but then we can immediately just read, or you can read through this. You know,
Well,
the
we're live
important
now,
part.
Anita. So you've just introduced yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. We're live. Okay.
We're live.
Oh, sorry. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Sorry.
I'm
Hi,
joined by the amazing Anita today.
Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. I was trying to organize with Leanne. Oh God.
No, it's right. Well, I kind of explained a little bit in the chat, so there's a bit of a spanner in the works, you know, because I've just come off a 2-hour live stream with Lauren and Cassidy, and I quickly grabbed something to eat, and then like this, you know, 2 filings with a bunch of attachments all just dropped all at once. So I think we're going to look at it in real time and moan and groan about it.
Yeah, it's I just like heard from Leanne about the Vin Diesel part, so I haven't read that part yet. I just read the 4 pages thing, so I'm looking forward to have a lot of facepalm moments, I guess.
So the backstory is to this particular filing is it started with a motion for an extension of the discovery period deadline. So there's a lot of oh, I don't know, they're just going like toddlers really. So obviously there's a bunch of crap that was put in Lively's joint motion with Stephanie Jones about how unreasonable Wayfair are being, 50,000 hours of footage she now needs to watch. So it'll take her 5.5 years to watch film sequences that were shot over about 3 months all in all. So I'm not even sure how that works. And, you know, it's film footage that she's actually sat through and watched anyway. That was quite an interesting filing. What did you think of that one?
I think it's like what what we have been doing calculations, right? We put like HD, how long it would take, and then if it was like 4K, it was an obvious like, I mean, come on, like these lawyers, they're like really smart. She has good lawyers. Let's not, you know, they know what they're doing. They're not they know they are acting stupid, but they're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. So let's not like conflate that, oh, they're dumbasses, you know what I mean? They know exactly what they need to do to get what probably Blake is demanding, you know, behind the scenes.
Well,
It's like, get me out of this deposition.
No, exactly. I mean, it's bizarre. I spoke to my dad. My dad's like, you know, had a 50+ year long career in computing, and I kind of run it past him as well. And I was like, you know, 100 terabytes of film footage, is that going to come to 50,000 hours of viewing? Right after he stopped laughing, yeah, he said it would be, and I think he gave me a figure between about 200 and 500. And he said to me then that he felt he was being generous because the files, we know, there's a lot we don't know. We don't know, you know, the kind of the quality. We don't know if there's anything else added to it. We don't know if the files are compressed. So there's a lot of variables, he calls it, that are unknown. But he said shouldn't be any more than about, you know, somewhere between the 200 to 500 hours mark. And lo and behold, right, Wayfair come back yesterday and said, oh no, it's less than 150 hours, which is a massive difference from 50,000 hours.
Oh yeah, it's I think on X or Twitter, I don't know what people call it nowadays, but like I calculated generously. Let's say if it was rolling for 16 hours, right? Poor Blakey was like slaving away while Justin Baldoni was calling her sexy, 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 like for 16 hours a day. Like this is how they were trying to portray this whole thing, as if like she was in a hostile environment. Well, it was hostile for Baldoni and Wayfair for sure, but like they trying to make it as if like this poor lady, poor Blakey Boo. I like to call her Blakey Boo now. she was like slaving away for 50,000 hours of footage. Like a symbol is like, do you think you shot like she was way less, and especially how many times she skipped the set, the audacity,
Yeah.
you know. Oh god. Anyway, so it was intentional to make it look a lot. They knew like Wayfair is gonna come back and everything, but you know.
Well, no, exactly, and I'm trying to find. I'm just looking now, because a citizen journalist actually found something that was really good. Actually, I'll keep looking, and then I'll share it when I find it. But yeah, so it was a lot of back and forth, and there was we can see we had the email thread as well to sort of say, well, sorry, I got a bit of a sore throat today. We had the email threads as well, which gave us a lot of information, and I thought Wayfair did a really good job. It was certainly the funniest filing I'd seen from them in quite a long time. I think it needed to be quite forcefully clapped back. But I was really pleased to see the information that was coming out. And it certainly looked like, especially with the depositions, that they were being messed around by Lively and Jones. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. They are co-conspirators, even though they tried to pass what's her face, Stephanie, as a co-conspirator to Wayfair in the Wallace case. They tried to make it sound that way, but they are definitely like they're skipping around this VanZan thing, right and left. I think they don't know what to do with that themselves. They're still looking like to see how Wayfair is going to use it, because Wayfair has been quite silent about this whole thing. So they don't know how Wayfair is going to attack the VanZan thing, right? Although they've alluded to it in the filings. They don't know what's their strategy.
Well, exactly. I found this actually now, so I'm going to show this because, and this is the wonderful CJ, and she just did this brilliantly. She put up this post, which it says it's supposed to say, "Now I know Blake used Chat GPT 50,000 hours," because it literally, that's what you get. That was a question that was asked on Chat GPT, and it come up with 50,000 hours.
I think ChatGPT probably remembered her search. It's like, how do I make 100 terabytes into 50,000 hours? What will be the calculation?
No, exactly. But today we have had. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, there's now an order. I'm just checking what it is.
Oh, they just there's a new order.
Oh, looks like the judge has actually ruled in. It looks like the judge has ruled in favour of Wayfarer, so they're not delaying the document production. That's got to be done.
Oh yeah.
All document production by parties and non-parties shall be completed by the 25th of July. Third-party subpoenas shall require production no later than 25th of July. Motions to compel regarding document production shall be filed by no later than the 1st of August. And depositions shall be completed by the September the 30th, which is what both sides agreed on. So
fact discovery, okay.
Yeah, so that's
I'm
a win.
confused about that. Is it? I don't get it. The parties shall show cause by 5 p.m. July 11th. Why the court should not issue an order as follows.
Yeah. So Wayfair. So they've got to explain why. So that's the proposed order from the judge, right? Is fact this document production shall be no later than the 25th of July. Motions to compel document production shall be no later than the 1st of August, and depositions shall be completed by September the 30th. All fact discovery. will be completed by September the 30th. So the judge is saying, right, give me a good reason why I shall not, make this an order. So I think he's given them one last round to argue it out. We'll see. I mean, he's at the moment he's inclined to go
not
with
keep it. Yeah.
Yeah, to go with Wayfair's request. So we'll see. We will see.
But
that's now.
So just to clarify, so deposition is also part of fact discovery, right? So they want the documents to be completed by July 25th.
Yeah.
And then August 14 is supposed to be depositions. He has agreed to extend it to 30th of September because Wayfair also is okay with that.
Yeah.
But fact discovery meaning document exchange, right?
No, that just means everything. That doesn't mean documents. So he has actually split it. So the documents are the 25th. This is his proposed order. The documents are by the 25th of July, and the depositions, the motions to compel the document production will be by the 1st of August. So you can't just, fanny about and just leave it. You've got to, if you're going to file a motion to compel, it has to be in before the 1st of August or by the 1st of August. And then the depositions can be extended to September the 30th. And then all of that together means, he's basically saying all fact discovery will end on this day, which is the 30th of September. But he's not saying he's moving document production to that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. I got that. It was just like so many different productions and everything. Does this also fall for Wallace? No, he has different deadlines, right? Well, technically, in the case
he's in this.
The defendant. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's for everyone. It clearly includes Jones as well because she is joint filing the motion as well. She joined lively on the motion. So I think that's everyone.
I have a theory about, not theory, I have a question.
Go on.
About the Stephanie Jones, because remember when VanZan was opposed to producing documents, in one of their filings against it, they were saying that, we want Wayfair to tell us what Stephanie has produced to them. Like they were saying that, we have asked them a record of all the things that was produced to them.
So who asked? Who said that?
VanZan.
VanZan said they wanted to know what Stephanie Jones had produced to Wayfair.
Yeah, Jones Works. Yeah, they had produced to Wayfair.
Right.
And then it says like, then they should go and get the documents from Stephanie. For me, it was like kind of the Taylor Swift thing, where they were like, we want to know what was produced by Taylor Swift. It gave me the same vibe as if there was a fallout behind the scenes.
No, it's different because when Blake Lively asked when Blake Lively asked what Taylor Swift had produced to Wayfarer, she is a party. See, VanZan is not a party, so they don't have a right to do that information.
Yeah, I know that part, but I'm saying that for me, it's not legally. For me, it just indicated that, like, does VanZan, also known as Blake, do they not know what Stephanie has produced, or is this like a game behind the scenes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's probably some kind of game. And I mean, unless there is a chance that they don't know, but to be honest, they all seem to be still clued in.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Because, like when the motion for the time extension was filed, and although it's a joint motion, we've seen in Jones Works filings her kind of almost advocating for Lively sexual harassment claims all through, quite heavily actually, more than I see Lively litigating her own sexual harassment claims. But when I read the motion from Blake Lively and Stephanie Jones to request an extension of time for discovery, you had Blake Lively arguing that, well, Wayfair haven't done this for Stephanie Jones, they haven't done that for Stephanie Jones. And I was thinking, well, why are you asking for this? Why are you concerned that JonesWorks has not been given film footage? Why does JonesWorks even need film footage?
I think they're also trying to delay in certain way because they don't know how to. They're piggy banking on,
It's really bizarre. Some of the requests were just, they were ridiculous.
This whole thing is quite bizarre from day one, right? we should stop
definitely.
questioning how bizarre things are. I think that's just like we should be worried when things are normal. I think this is how the flow of the case. Like just when things are normal, when they're all quiet. The bizarreness was like when they were parading around and making media statements, how lawyers were going and literally lying to the media, the Stephanie Jones, right? When they lied to Billy Bush about VanZan and everything. My thing is it's not a fully formed theory, but if we take a look at what Stephanie Jones might be charged with, although they don't have access to Edgeworth communications, right?
Yeah.
What Stephanie Jones has done to Abel, it has criminal, what is it called, acts or causes of action, right? Obviously, they're not pursuing that, but and their cases are going
at the moment
forward.
they're not pursuing it.
Only the government in the US can pursue the criminal charges, but in the civil suit, if they can prove it, right? So it's like a really bad look on her. Stephanie Jones has been very quiet, if you think about it, like in this whole thing. And I think she has probably realized the gravity, like, how in the beginning, they were just like throwing, axes across, at each other. Yeah. Stephanie Jones, ever since they switched their causes of action against her, they just tried to say that, they've just abandoned their causes of action. And then the more VanZan stuff started coming out, we just heard like Stephanie going like quieter and quieter because in this whole thing, right? Stephanie and Leslie are the ones with horns, like the devils, who kind of stirred things up, I think, to cover up their own thing. And then obviously Lively found out about it, and then, she wanted to get on top of things. Stephanie Jones has been quiet. And I think out of everybody, they are more likely to make a deal with Wayfair, because if Wayfair drops their lawsuit against her, Lively can't go after her because Stephanie knows too much.
No, exactly.
And Leslie has been dropped, but she cannot also throw things on Leslie because Leslie knows too much, like not just the Wayfarer stuff or the It Ends With Us stuff. She knows about her all the things for years.
Yeah.
So I think Blake is kind of stuck in a place where usually she would scapegoat something, right? We know that she's fishing, right? We know that she knows that they're trying to back up their claims that they never thought they was going to get this far. So, but right now she doesn't have a scapegoat because Stephanie was a conspirator.
Well, exactly.
But they're trying to keep her on good side. But Stephanie has all the motivations to fold if you think about what she's being accused of. Wouldn't you say so? Like, to get rid of this, like she'll say that because at the end of the day, Baldoni and Wayfarer, they just want to clear their name.
Yeah.
And I think Blake Lively, they're trying to keep Stephanie at bay, like to keep her like kind of calm. We've got this, whatever.
Yeah,
no matter how
I agree with you. I do agree.
And I think like Stephanie is kind of quiet, and I think she might be like considering her options. And that letter about the VanZan thing, I know like VanZan is not how you said because they're non-party, they don't have access, but VanZan, they know that they cannot have access to that with these smart lawyers, but they're still looking for that information just the way Taylor. So forget about the legal part. It's just, to me, it sounded like they don't know what Stephanie has produced about VanZan, and also why the criminal lawyers for VanZan.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I do.
That was a rant. So
no,
it's a bit fishy. It's a bit fishy. You know?
I mean, I'm loath to kind of say, oh well, they've hired this lawyer for that and this lawyer for that, because almost every lawyer that someone's kind of pricked their ears up and gone, oh, okay, well, look, as a criminal lawyer, that means something. It actually turns out to be nothing. Because it doesn't always mean something anyway. It could. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm just saying that lawyers can be, trained in a multitude of things, and some of that may be part criminal, part civil. So it may be that the lawyers have, particular expertise. I know with VanZan, I noticed that the law firm they've hired specialize in like litigation misconduct, and ethics breaches. So that sounded a bit of an alarm bell, because that's quite a niche speciality as well. And especially given that Manat were originally representing VanZan, and there's no reason for them to not still be representing VanZan. I mean, just because they're representing Lively doesn't mean they can't also represent VanZan.
Oh yeah, and also like, I don't know how much of my theory you've heard, but my whole thing, my understanding of this whole, like, this is my theory that originated after Lively's motion to dismiss. Their case, they were never gonna file or anything. They think they were gonna do the New York Times, they were gonna do cease and desist, and then they were gonna settle behind closed doors, because who wouldn't settle after this, or like then they issue a statement. My thing is like, this was preemptive against, because they found out Friedman was part of their legal team in August, and it might even have been as early as July. And they had the documentations, because Jennifer Abel's phone was the key phone in the whole PR thing, because she was the one who was talking to Tag, to Brian Friedman. She was talking with Baldoni, Jamie, like everybody. She was like the center. Through her messages, they found something so strong, they got spooked to the point where Ryan Reynolds and the Blake parties were calling Justin Baldoni not a sexual... Am I allowed to say the word?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, not a predator. They started calling him that director and co-lead and act, like it switched. That's when August 29th, when they doctored, is like, hey Ryan, this is what's her face, Leslie, and just like and Brian's like, I'm telling you to stand down. This is August 29th, after they had access to the phone, after they realized they will not be able to get the movie. And then in September they started having the leaks were saying that Ryan Reynolds is willing to buy the movie rights off of Justin Baldoni, and director. For the first time in 6 months he was referred to as a director, from like their tactic, like switching. And I have a feeling that they were trying to send a message to Justin Baldoni, because they knew what was in their phones, right? So they crossed many lines, especially they effed up with the August 13th. And then September 27th, they did the VanZan, because they're like, okay, we need to find another strategy. And I think they must have contacted New York Times, like, because obviously the Wayfair was not really into selling it. And VanZan was part of New York Times. It wasn't supposed to be part of the... I think the legal thing, because they didn't know things would get this far. This is like this whole thing. And when you see the I'm gonna get to the point.
That's all right. Go on.
The CRD and everything, like, why was a criminal lawyer part of the CRD and the lawsuit and cease and desist? Why was a criminal lawyer hired when you're what is it called, when you're filing a sexual harassment claim? Like, if you think about it, Ezra Hudson, okay, fine, whatever, isn't she like employment? And in her thing, in her bio, it says like, oh, she's good for creative litigation, and oh god, she was. But Exhibit A messed everything up for them. Like, I think they were just thrown off the loop and then regrouped, and they're still like really good at... I guess they're good. And for me, the fact that Gottlieb is what is it called, enterprise threatened, it's like it's a threatening and something to an enterprise. He's a litigator, complex litigator, because why would you think your enterprise will be threatened by you coming up with sexual harassment?
Oh, exactly.
And so for me, from day one, it's like this has been preemptive because they didn't know, because they knew that Baldoni had such a lot of things. Although their thing was dismissed, they didn't know what would be exposed, so they were ready. So
Yeah.
like they did the preemptively and everything, and now that the VanZan is coming up, so it's not necessarily just a criminal lawyer. It's just like from day one, it's just very fishy how, you know, an employment and women's right issue, let's say if it were that, has become enterprise threatening litigation. Why?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. I mean, there will be strategies involved. It's hard to know everything because we're kind of not behind the scenes, and what we see on the docket is honestly, if it's 10%, that's all it is. So much more is happening behind the scenes. But yeah, so I don't have the answers, but I mean, I watch everything and I pay attention to the details of it, because it is handy to know, and then you start to form little theories in your head of possibilities. There could be something in there. There might not be, but
yeah, that's true. It might not be. It's just like for me, it's just like from day one. Like also, it's not just one thing, right? It's everything she has done.
yeah,
Let's say like Stephanie could have been like, I have this messages, the Speak Up Act, like she's trying to say. You can be like,
yeah,
I have something like this, but I'm happy to be part of. You can subpoena me. Why not you? Why don't you go and immediately do sexual harassment case against them, and then be like, we have insider information, who is an ex-PR who has the phone, and she has let us know of this information, and we would like to subpoena, right? And then they go
yeah.
through it. Why go through all these back doors to, and then cherry pick the messages, you know?
I think
That
that was. I think her attempt to use anyway the Speak Out Act does demonstrate that she believes that she may be on shaky ground with the subpoena. I think it does demonstrate something, but I've said before, I don't think the Speak Out Act is going to help her either, because, you know, with the VanZan lawsuit, there is no mention of sexual harassment. So, you know,
I don't think it will. I'm saying that if she really believed what she was saying, right? This was to actually, but for me, it's like she never was gonna go this, like, you know, to this stage. She knows she is not being smeared. All of this was actually preemptive. She
yeah,
knows she was not smeared, but she tried to portray it in that way because so that she can get some people on her side, you know, the Me Too movement. So she
yeah,
was smart about like the litigation. Ezra Hudson and Michael Gottlieb, they have had a very creative litigation, and you have to give it to them. Look at how many people are still supporting her.
oh, exactly, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we had we had a further response to the filings on the motion for the extension time for discovery. Literally before we hit the live button. And I did say I was going to do something I'd never do, and that is to actually go through it here live in real time. And I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous, but
English is your first language. If anybody, you should be in it. You should be comfortable to
yeah,
read.
it should be. But so yeah, because there was I'm not going to go through it in depth. The reason I want to go through it is there are some wild things. I've very like briefly skimmed it. And there are some absolutely wild attachments added to this, which have, in my opinion, they have nothing to do with the request for extending the discovery period. But so this is basically just a kind of, you know, like, can we, you know, have permission to file a 2-page letter? Now, as typically goes, yes, the letter itself is going to be 2-page, but there's like, you know, pages and pages and pages of attachments to it as well. So it's not
407 pages is the Vin Diesel thing. That's crazy.
yeah, I'm not reading all of that.
Yeah.
But I will summarize that. So this is the original letter. So I'm just going to I'm not going to read that because it's literally, you know, they're just looking for the court's permission, because they've already done their filing and then the response from Wayfair. So there's no automatic right to file any further documents. So where are we? I got my cat meowing. I am really sorry if everyone can hear that.
The more the merrier. She's also she's also what is it called? What is it called? Sorry, never mind. She's also chiming in.
So yeah, so she's basically, it's plaintiff Blake Lively respectfully submits this reply in further support of the joint motion. So they just basically recap that Wayfair have agreed to extend the deadline for the completion of depositions from August 14th to September 30th, which is fine. Sorry, my throat is getting really sore. Notwithstanding this agreement, the Wayfarer parties have filed an opposition in order to assert baseless, false, and irrelevant accusations about Miss Lively, such as that Miss Lively has failed to diligently engage in discovery and seeks to unnecessarily delay her July 17th deposition. I don't recall anyway off the top of my head them saying that she was going to delay the July 17th one. All I saw from Wayfarer was that she had cancelled the June 23rd and it had been rescheduled for July 17th. But I didn't see them comment that she was trying to delay July 17th. It may be in there, and but I don't remember that. Do you remember that?
No, they've been lying, and they've been trying to say that she doesn't need all the documents because she should remember. She wasn't trying to delay.
She was trying to delay.
But they love to misrepresent. I told you, you need to we become a pretzel in order to understand what they're trying to say or to agree with them.
Yeah, I know. So they go on to say then this false claim just so happens to parrot the sanctionable narrative spun by Wayfair's lead counsel, Brian Friedman. So they're going after Friedman again, even though Friedman has actually said nothing for quite some time.
After being slapped, by the judge. I think that's why Brian Friedman is writing the letters and then Fritz is signing.
I'm sure they're working on it together, but that's, a legal team. So yes, just so happens to parrot the sanctionable narrative spun by Friedman, namely that Miss Lively is hiding the truth and afraid of being deposed. Well, she is. She is. She literally, at the start of this, wrote to the judge and said, I don't want to have my deposition taken by Friedman. How is that? Yeah. And to be clear, all of this is categorically false. Not only has Miss Lively repeatedly stated that she intends to move forward with her deposition on July 17th. Again, I haven't heard her say that, other than...
And what do you mean intends? Does that mean there's a chance she won't?
Yeah, exactly. Well, she could cancel it. That's the reality, and that would not be unusual. That happens. Life happens, So, even if it gets cancelled, it might not necessarily be her. It could be one of the, legal counsel for either side, the court reporter. It could be any number, because there's so many people who've got to be organised to be in the right place at the right time. So if any one of them has to cancel for any reason, then that's just life, and they move on and reschedule. But it happens all the time. So apparently she intends to move forward, and she's been telling everyone this over and over again with a deposition on July 17th. And it is actually the Wayfarer parties who, just hours after submitting their opposition yesterday, sought to take that deposition off the calendar, relying upon a brazen misrepresentation that they were responding to a request that Miss Lively never made. Okay. We'll see that as going to be Exhibit A. I'm going to get through this before going to the exhibits. Okay. Already this is more than 2 pages. Can I just say?
I think people are happy long. With it. It's okay. I think go ahead. Or if you don't want to read it, that's okay. But
no, I'm okay. But you remember they sought to leave to file a letter of no more than 2 pages, and this is actually 3 pages.
Okay, they've put most of their stuff in a footnote so that it looks like it's not part of the page. Nice try. Well, I'm onto them. Just like
apparently Lively is ready and eager to sit for a deposition, which is why, unlike the majority of the Wayfair parties, she substantially completed her document production. So here we go about the documents again. So the same cannot be said for the Wayfarer parties. Lively has made painstaking efforts to diligently engage in discovery in this case, as evidenced by her fulsome productions to date and her multiple motions to compel the Wayfarer parties and third parties represented by Wayfarer Council to disclose even the most basic documents in response to discovery. At each turn, the Wayfarer parties have refused to produce key documents and have taken obstructive and unreasonable positions. Even in the face of a court-ordered deadline to complete substantial document productions by July 1st, the Wayfarer parties' productions remain materially incomplete. To date, the Wayfarer parties have failed to even produce all communications contained within their first amended complaint and Exhibit A. For his part, Mr. Sarowitz has produced only 2 documents. Now, do you know, in their original motion, they said 3. So that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're only dealing with 2 or 3 documents, that 1 extra document, it's a discrepancy, and I don't like discrepancies. So they've changed their thing. But honestly, the guy visited the set of his production studio for half a day. How many documents could he possibly have to produce?
Maybe he put like his flight information that, I got.
Hello?
Like as a. Hello?
Yeah. Oh, you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry. And then I'm like, what was he asked to produce? Also, that's another question, right? He is the founder and the financier of that, but a lot of people who are investors, they're not part of the, how to say, like, if they should know it. If sometimes you're an angel investor or whatever, you don't really do too much. It's more about Jamie and the director and everybody who'd have to produce substantial stuff, not him. All he has to maybe provide is the taxes and finances and everything. They're not clear of what was produced and what was asked and why they haven't produced.
Exactly. But I'm going to quickly just check because it's annoying me now. What is it? So that's Wayfarers. When did they file this? When did they file the original
the interrogatories or
no, when did Lively and Jones file their original motion? Oh, hold on, I've got it.
I don't know what you're talking about, but you go, you go, girl.
I've got it. Where is it? Sorry, guys. I'm trying. I've never had to navigate around all this stuff in a live stream before, so I'm figuring this out. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to just quickly switch to this one a minute. So I don't know if you can see here, right after the green where it says VanZan subpoena here. Can you see my mouse?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so here, further, Mr. Sarowitz appears to have produced only 3 pages of documents in total. So, yeah, but here, well, they've actually put it in bold and italics. Mr. Sarowitz has produced only 2 documents.
They can't keep track of their lies. That's the problem.
Exactly. You think like, well, if it's only 3 documents or only 2 documents, like you'd be able to, remember that number. You wouldn't be so bogged down that you would like not be able to keep count.
And also, what Lively, another thing about Lively producing documents, Lively is all of Lively's claims is the SH claims, right? And she has generously produced it. What is it called? Her HR quotation marks, guys, don't get mad. Her HR complaints and her communication. I don't know what she was asked with Taylor Swift and all her people around her, but most of the thousands of pages that even Megan too has said, it is Jennifer Abel's. So out of the 1,000 pages that they've produced, it doesn't show how many of those pages are actually the text messages that she's been given through VanZan. So like just the number, what she's saying, just like the 50,000 hours means nothing. It's just there to show something.
Exactly.
But and I wonder if Brian Friedman and Jennifer Abel, they haven't produced of all the text messages because they want the court them to compel to give the full messages through the court, because then they will say that, oh, we know it because we got it through VanZan, because then Blake Lively, to my understanding, has to justify how VanZan gave the stuff to Blake, because that hasn't gotten into Wayfair versus Blake Lively yet, right? That thing, exactly. It's more prominent in the Stephanie Jones and Abel, but it's not really prominent in here. So they're waiting, like they're baiting her to ask for it through the court and bring it to Lyman's attention. That's how I feel through the other case.
And I think I will say this. I'll just a quick opinion on the whole thing with the VanZan before I continue with this document, because there's quite a lot to get through. But I think because of the lack of metadata, I think I can see a path to Wayfair asking for a reconsideration of the decision on the Edgeworth subpoena, because I think that will become relevant. It specifically goes to one of the claims, one of the points that is made in both Wayfair and Abel's filings against Jones then, and also towards their defense against Lively, that the information was shared, on that day in August when Jen Abel was terminated. Now VanZan, Lively, whoever it is, has handed over all the documents that were produced in response to the subpoena. Well, but there's, some of them have got the metadata missing, and they're saying, well, it's Jones's fault. So they will obviously be going to ask Stephanie Jones, where's all this information? By the way, we want the metadata. And if Stephanie Jones cannot produce the metadata and explain why it was given to Lively without, then they will go to the company. They will have a right then to go to the company, and I think they could say, well, we have new information now which warrants, Edgeworth, being the company that extracted the data, giving us this information, even if the subpoena is limited to that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can see that being something that Wayfarer may be considering. So they're saying that Sarowitz. So he's only produced 2 documents, and they are assuming that this is deficient, given that he's Wayfair's co-founder, co-chairman, leading financier of not just the studio and film, but of this litigation as well. I have seen no evidence that Justin Baldoni is not funding his own legal costs. And it's not like he's on, Social Security or anything. The guy's a millionaire in his own right.
Yeah.
That's like saying Lively was financing Leslie Sloan's legal costs. I don't like it just because he's a billionaire. Then he's definitely got to be. He's going to be financing everyone's legal costs. It's just.
And what if he is like? That's the thing. They didn't expect. Yeah, and why does it bother you?
Well, they're not entitled to anything that anything that If he's
It's
funding
like
the
a friend. It
litigation, what's it
doesn't.
matter? Because there's privileged information anyway.
That's the thing. They're just hating the fact that Justin Baldoni can pay so much. They didn't think he would be able to, right?
Yeah.
You know, and when they were laughing, it's like, ha ha ha, the treble damages and everything. But you know, Baldoni side still wasn't spooked. They were like, we want to go, because technically, oh my god, I don't want to talk about 47.1 anymore, but the like even I see when there's a like driving license plate with 471, I just want to shoot it. Like I'm tired of seeing this number. But like their whole thing is that they didn't expect he would have this much, you know, they would be able to drag it this far.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've tried to settle behind the scenes. I wonder, you know, like Blake Lively side, probably not, but her ego is a bit too high. But
No,
they're just butthurt by the fact that Baldoni has somebody who believes in him so much, who's not a family member or married to him, like who's stuck with them, who's willing to shell out money to protect his honor. Like they're just salty because nobody else would. Look at even her bestie wouldn't come out with a statement, let alone shell out money. You know, sorry, this was
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
So so she's whinging on there that the rest of the Wayfair parties have also not produced enough. Just limited text messages. They don't have Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel have failed to produce texts that Lively knows to be in their possession, which are directly responsive to pending requests. And these include communications about Jed Wallace and being able to bury anyone. So apparently they have not produced them. Further, while Lively intends to meet and confer with the Wayfarer parties about these deficiencies before seeking formal judicial intervention, Miss Lively has recently learned that and she's putting inverted commas here, 150 hours of film footage produced by the Wayfarer parties is materially defective. Right? Okay, so the video...
How do we know they didn't do something with it? Like I like everything they say, I have both of my eyebrows raised. So, but by the way, somebody like Neil Price wrote, it takes a lot of tech to scrub metadata that some serious hardware to wipe that of any devices. It's hardwired to make metadata.
Oh, absolutely. So, and I know that's right too. You know, when I first found the metadata, the October 31st metadata on the New York Times, the first person I always went to talk to was my dad, and anything tech related, he is the person I go and speak to.
Oh, he's also part of the Baldoni team then. Yay.
Yeah. I'm waiting for my dad to be subpoenaed.
Oh no.
But yeah, no, I mean it was absolutely ridiculous. It was such a ridiculous thing to suggest there were 50,000 hours. You know, no one is going to be sitting reviewing that footage for 5.5 years when the trial is in 9 months, less than that even.
Oh, also, like, you know how the 50,000 thing was debunked? Maybe they're saying that there is no voice, there's malfunction. Like, how do I know that?
Yeah, but they are saying that, because I'm getting to that. They are absolutely saying that it can only be reviewed without audio.
Bullshit.
Probably, yeah. But that would not make the viewing time. It might make the file bigger, but it would not make the viewing time longer. It's just, it's not going to add another 5 years to watch the video by adding the audio. That's just insane. So yeah, the video files were produced without embedded audio, meaning that while the film footage can be reviewed, it can only be reviewed without audio, thereby rendering the production of that footage incomplete and unusable for any substantive purpose. Now, bear in mind, she actually thought there was no audio originally.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, because it's like, she had to retrospectively to build up all these claims. If you look about it, she doesn't even give dates of her things. Like part of the CRD is like it requires very detailed things. It's just like word salad, as we know she does. And like she probably got it without sound.
Yeah.
When they were editing, and she remembers she probably thought there was no sound.
No, exactly. So she then goes on to say, notwithstanding these clear deficiencies, Miss Lively has arranged her calendar as well as the calendars of her counsel in order to sit for her deposition on July 17th. Rather than address these glaring discovery shortcomings, I'm going to have to put my glasses on that. The Wayfair parties instead try to pass blame to Miss Lively for somehow failing to exercise diligence in conducting discovery and scheduling depositions. But this argument is belied by the factual record, including the many motions to compel filed by Miss Lively, which have been prerequisites for Miss Lively to be able to determine which of the voluminous third parties in this case should sit for depositions. There's a footnote. Right, I've got to get to footnote 2 in a minute. So I'll in any event, fact discovery remains open, and Miss Lively has actively worked to obtain key discovery and coordinate depositions, efforts which have largely been impeded by Wayfarer parties. So in footnote 2, in the same correspondence, the Wayfarer parties also refused to agree that Miss Lively's deposition should be held at her counsel's office to ensure that appropriate security measures could be in place under the supervision of her counsel. That is nonsense, right? So they have scheduled the deposition for both Jones and Lively at Meester's office, Kevin Fritz's office, which is in New York. Now her counsel will still be there, right? That is absolutely both sides of the counsels are there because her counsel will be objecting to every question and be telling her not to answer, or so on and so forth. So her counsel will be there regardless of where the deposition is actually located. I don't see any reason why, if she needs security, and bear in mind she has bodyguards, and I'm sure she wants to take Ryan Reynolds as well. Like, why can't she just say to Fritz's law firm, look, I tell you what, can you put in this, and this? I need this, please.
Oh no, she loves being difficult, right? That's the thing. She knows how much Friedman despises her, and she's uncomfortable being unliked, apparently. So
I redo. So this supervision and safety measures is particularly concerning given the high-profile nature of this case, the substantial public and media interest, Miss Lively's right to personal safety, and the protections of the court's protective order. The protective order had fuck all to do with her having security at a deposition. I'm sorry, it didn't. Especially in light of Mr. Friedman's previous threats to quote-unquote live stream and sell tickets to Miss Lively's deposition. Is she actually kidding? Does she think that people actually thought Friedman was being serious? I'm getting to a point where I can't with this woman anymore.
No, she doesn't. Okay, if it makes you feel better, she knows she doesn't mean it. It's just, I think this is her lawyers, just like they are tired of their own client, and they're like, we're gonna get you out of it, But I know it's like I have stopped getting triggered. I just laugh it off. Also, is he threatening her with revealing the truth? Is that what they're saying? She's threatened by, because she'll be telling the truth because it's that position. How is that a threat?
Exactly.
Does she know she'll be exposed? Is that why she's threatened?
Oh my God. I am sorry, everyone, for the swearing.
Oh, no.
I probably am only just getting warmed up, in all honesty, because when I get annoyed, especially when I see lawyers putting this bullshit into filings, and then, I've got to sit and read it with a straight face.
The lawyers have their own list of demands that they've received from Lively. Don't worry. I think they're also probably.
I know that, but
they need help.
This is so disingenuous because not one person thought that Friedman was literally going to sell tickets to her deposition. No one actually. I would be on a plane already, going to it if I took him seriously. God, I'm
Maybe they've just picked up a few ball-busting tactics from their client.
Yeah, possibly. And it makes them look so stupid, and then I can't take them seriously. I really can't.
They're Papa Lyman, or Papa Lemon, I call him now. I'm sure he will take them seriously.
Apparently, there are recent allegations detailed in recent filings in Los Angeles Superior Court of unprofessional and physically aggressive deposition tactics by Brian Friedman in Exhibit B. We'll get to Exhibit B. I think that's the Vin Diesel thing. If that, again, even if it is, what the fuck has it got to do with this? Do you know what I think is going on, Anita? I'll tell you what's going on. Because security, location of deposition, Brian Friedman, and concerns around his aggressive tactics and the comments that he's made flippantly, right? That's got nothing to do with a motion to fight, with oh God, I'm getting annoyed now, with a motion for an extension of time for the discovery period. It has nothing to do with that at all. They are trying to get the judge to say Friedman is not safe. He is going to be aggressive, and trying to basically get the judge to say, put in an order to say he can't be a deposition.
Isn't that like a really big no-no for the judge? Because whatever is said about a lawyer in a court filing, it will come into all of his, like, I know that in the US, like if you reprimand or, like it will always come into their like future. It's on their record.
It's extremely.
Would the judge go that far?
No, I don't think he will. Right? If he does, I will scream bias from the mountaintops. But in incredibly rare, incredibly rare situations, if a judge, if a counsel has already demonstrated aggression, then the judge might order that then they are excluded from further depositions in that case. Omar, right? How laid back is Omar? And even he has admitted on live streams that he once nearly come to blows with another counsel in a deposition. And he's like the most passive laid back guy ever.
Yeah, and he is actually dealing with people with domestic, like his family-in-law, and he says that he repeats that there's so many people he has come across who have actually experienced this, and that's why he also has very strong opinions about these things. And to be fair, some people are just punchable. I don't condone violence, but they're just punchable.
No, absolutely, I agree. And Gottlieb is one of them. To be fair.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh no. We cannot say this. They're gonna use this against us. No. This is we're just expressing feelings and emotions and frustrations. It's called it's healthy way to say it out loud, so you don't do it physically. Just an FYI.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. It's fair. That's absolutely fair. Right. Let's go on with this bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. So they have failed to provide key documents and offered only minimal availability. I'll keep going. I'll humor this. Whilst mandating a particular sequencing of witnesses, that is not a failure of diligence. It is a measured, appropriate effort to coordinate depositions fairly and efficiently. Right? Okay. However, given the Wayfair party's continued discovery woes, the case plan must be amended to extend the time for depositions. That's what she's saying. It must be amended to extend the time for depositions, which they're going to get because everyone agrees on the depositions, and to order the completion of party document productions by July 25th. The Wayfair party's attempt to cast this request as delay mischaracterizes the request. Ms. Lively seeks to require all parties to complete document productions by July 25th. To ensure that all parties can appropriately prepare for and timely complete depositions, not to extend any existing deadline. Her request to establish a briefing schedule for inevitable further motions to compel, including with regard to answers posed during the depositions of the Wayfair parties, supports this same goal. The Wayfair party's suggestion that Ms. Lively hopes to tee up discovery motions, regardless of whether those motions are even necessary for the entire month of July, could not be further from the truth. Ms. Lively simply seeks to establish an efficient schedule to address the obvious deficiencies in the Wayfair party's document productions and to avoid any party having to complete depositions with insufficient information and documents. Ms. Lively...
No. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were done. My bad. Sorry.
No. So Ms. Lively is looking forward to proceeding with the depositions of Wayfarer parties, but should not be forced to complete depositions without the benefit of a substantially complete record. Given the Wayfarer party's agreement that the time for depositions should be extended from August 14th to September 30th, Ms. Lively respectfully submits that the court should modify the deadlines by which all parties must complete their document productions, as well as establish a schedule for briefing the sufficiency of these productions. Such deadlines will be to the benefit Such deadlines will be to the benefit of all parties who have complete productions in advance of key depositions and can avoid the burden of multiple competing motions to compel before this court. And because Wayfarer parties do not claim prejudice due to the proposed production and briefing dates, which would keep the current summary judgment and trial deadlines intact, the court should grant the motion. God, that was a mouthful.
Before we continue, of course, we know how efficient Lively loves to be. We've seen it behind the scenes. It's not for her personal gain at all. She doesn't abandon the set, causing millions of dollars. Of course, our sweetie boo. She loves being efficient. Nice try. Like, really. Now I am annoyed.
Right, it's easy to get there, isn't it?
Calm each other time. I think if we're both annoyed at the same time, this is going to be rantiest life ever. But oh god, I don't know why today I woke up with a sass. Like even my tweets and everything, I've just been mocking her in my head, but just laughing it off. But yeah, she I agree about that part.
Yes.
I feel like because, right, so they're deposing her as a plaintiff, not as a defendant, right?
Yeah.
Technically, this is a legal question. Her legal stuff, like her causes of action and everything, they should be deposing about everything that's in there and what she's insinuated. So technically, she shouldn't be privy to the knowledge of all the communications, right? Because she made that complaint with that belief, so they're questioning what she believes and what she knows. Shouldn't it be like that they are withholding the video footage just to show how much she's lying? I have a question. That's like, can you please
because she has there's no automatic right at all to see the video footage.
But couldn't Friedman actually oppose and just say that we will take the deposition and then do the discovery? Because that's what I think their plan was, June 23rd, and then release the video footage, right?
Yeah, and they still could, because she hasn't filed a motion to compel anyway. She's not worried about it. But I mean, right now she's got most of the video. As she said, it's got no audio, so they just need to. That's either a problem with the files that they sent over, or it's a problem Lively's end, that the audio for whatever reason is not working. So they need to look into why that's happening. But technically, she's got she's got everything that she needs. I think there's one more batch of the video, a small batch of the video still to be sent out. But there's no automatic. It's common, actually, as Cassidy says, it's common that the Second Circuit don't let plaintiffs review video footage prior to the depositions. But it does sound like Wayfair are kind of accommodating that, because they've also got to comply with the deadline, and she did move her deposition, which pushed it back then to beyond the deadline of production.
Oh, about that, by the way, this is just, I have a question. Just Sorry, when I'm in lives, I always derail people's objective in that live. Sorry, but I have questions because I am reading this whole thing not as a lawyer. It's more like human behavior, right? So this is what I'm reading, and I'm like, this is what's happening. Let me see what this could mean, because everything Lively says doesn't mean what it means. So SAC, the second amended complaint, was, I think, like, people are saying that this was not their part of their biggest, how to say, causes of action. However, based on that and based how much she has cost the movie, that could have a lot of monetary damage on Lively, right? If you think about it.
Yes, and I did say this. Right?
Yeah,
I did say that they were big claims because it had a sequel. The first film did $360 million. So $340 million. That's huge, right? There was a second film.
People have been downplaying. They've been downplaying. Like, I've seen a few lawyers downplay it. I'm like, no. Actually, like, the fact that she didn't oblige with her contract thing that she didn't sign, yes, the other things were dismissed. But then, okay, so this is the part I disagree with, the part that this was their weakest claim, but maybe they were not as scandalous as the other ones, but these were not their weakest claims, and I'm sure, like, they can show whatever. That didn't happen, the SAC, after Friedman saying that there wouldn't be. There were no, the Friedman releasing the statement through Popcorn Planet, that was sus, right? Not through their other channels, or maybe they, I don't know what it is, but it was like weird, and it was like in a Word document, and then, like, it was just felt a bit backwards. And also then Blake Lively not going on her celebration tour, and they haven't filed for lawyers' fees yet, and then Lively's deposition was delayed. And thinking, I'm just, again, this is my thinking hat. Have you ever read the 6 Thinking Hats?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like thinking hat. So technically, Lively has something valuable in her hand, right? The lawyer's fees and maybe treble damages, but I don't know if she has to apply for treble damages. And the deposition, she would be like, let's exchange this. You don't give the SAC, like, it would kind of amount to the same amount of money maybe. And then we don't do like a PR war after, because they didn't either. They made quite a mild statement compared to what they would have otherwise. Like, the fact that his whole case was dismissed should have been like fireworks, right?
Yeah.
I think that behind the scenes, there could have been that Lively asked to just like, oh, we will not ask for lawyers' fees and all of this. You don't file your SAC, and treble damages, we will not pursue those in return for my deposition to be postponed. Because right now they say that, oh, they asked for an extension in the email, so it was like she didn't show up, they agreed to it. Why would they agree to it otherwise if there was nothing, You know what I mean? But I'm trying to make sense. Like, for me, this whole thing, like, somebody disagreed with me, and I like, they made a deal of exchange of something valuable, monetary value. I don't think it changes their case, but it was like a very big monetary value, because if Baldoni's side would have to pay more than $10-15 million because their case was dismissed, it would kind of match up with the monetary damages to Wayfair as a studio and a movie.
Yeah. No.
What do you think about that? Am I right? Is it too far-fetched?
No. I did think that the monetary damages claimed were actually bigger than people believed they were. I think there was substantial losses, and they definitely could have, and there's all the projects that have been lost as well. So, I do think that there was something to those monetary claims. That's why I do believe that there is something big that they're going to pursue. I think they're going to, personally, think they're going to appeal, not today, because the deadline is today for the issue of law appeal on the dismissal decisions. So I think they will appeal later on. at the end of the trial and everything, where they can actually file an appeal based on issue of fact and issue of law. And I think they're preserving. But I also think something's going on with VanZan. I definitely think there's something big coming. I don't know what. I personally think it's the tip of a massive corrupt iceberg. I think.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with that. And it's actually Ryan is the one who's going to be in hot waters, not Blake.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I do think that I've got Vin Diesel's case. I'm only doing this like one page, which I think is the relevant bit anyway. My God, this is so. It's going to be an interesting read. Hang on, sorry, I'm just getting to the page. Where is it?
I'm gonna mute myself, okay, because I'll be making some noise. But
no, that's fine. Okay. That's fine. Okay, let's have a look at this then. Oh, I need to take that off. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Right. Okay. So this seems to be the bit that Lively has attached this 400+ page attachment with her 2-page letter, which turned out to be 3. They clearly can't tell the difference between 2 or 3, can they? So this is the deposition of Vin Diesel. Brian Friedman was the counsel for Vin Diesel. And basically what it says here is defendant's counsel, defendant being Vin Diesel, engaged in obstructionist tactics, including physical threat and profanity, while refusing to provide any legitimate reason for Vin Diesel's last-minute unavailability. So this was on June the 23rd of this year, which was the same day Blake Lively's deposition should have been. So I don't know how Friedman was going to be in 2 places at the same time, because it was Lively that cancelled the deposition. Anyway, so plaintiff's counsel was scheduled to take the in-person deposition of third-party witness Valentino Morales on the 23rd of June 2025. The morning of this deposition, counsel for defendant Vin Diesel asserted that they disagreed with plaintiff's counsel's position regarding Vin Diesel's objections to his duly noticed deposition, and would meet and confer in person later that day on June 23rd. Counsels for defendants Sean Hardy and Brian Friedman appeared with the third-party deponent on June 23rd. Prior to the deposition, plaintiff's counsel Matthew Hale requested to meet and confer about the objections to the deposition of Vin Diesel in a separate room. Mr. Hale and Mr. Hardy began to discuss the assertion that Mr. Diesel was suddenly unavailable for his deposition. Mr. Hale requested to know why Mr. Diesel was suddenly unavailable, and Mr. Hardy refused to provide a reason. During this back and forth, Mr. Friedman entered the room. Mr. Hale again requested to know why Mr. Diesel was unavailable to determine if this was a true emergency or a simple failure to appear for his deposition, for which availability had been cleared over a month prior. So this deposition on 23rd of June had been scheduled for a month. So it sounds to me that Brian Friedman wasn't plan to take Blake Lively's deposition, and she is making a fuss about nothing. Where am I? As it would be important for the purposes of any motion to compel that may need to be filed, right? Counsel for defendant continued to refuse to provide any explanation. Mr. Friedman interjected and told Mr. Hale to just file his motion and called Mr. Hale a moron and cursed while doing so. Mr. Hale began to write down the language on notepaper, specifically stating that he would be including these insults in his declaration to any motion and requesting to have a professional and substantive meeting confer. Mr. Friedman then threatened Mr. Hale with malicious prosecution and called him a piece of shit. Wow. At no time did Mr. Hale exchange any insult with Mr. Friedman, raise his voice, or provoke any physical contact. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Friedman got up from his chair, rushed to stand directly in front of Mr. Hale, mere inches away from him, causing Mr. Friedman's face to be directly in front of that of Mr. Hale. Mr. Friedman then called Mr. Hale a pussy. And swung his fist at Mr. Hale's face, stopping directly in front of his face without making contact. Shocked, Mr. Hale nonetheless remained composed and attempted to address Mr. Hardy behind Mr. Friedman, in hopes that counsel could get the meet and confer discussion back on track. At some point shortly after, Mr. Friedman left the room and Mr. Hale and Mr. Hardy conducted the meet and confer session, both then and after the deposition concluded later that day. Given Mr. Diesel's asserted objection regarding the lack of security and privacy, this is familiar, at plaintiff's counsel office, Mr. Hale requested to know what was deficient about their security and or privacy. Mr. Hardy indicated that Mr. Diesel had a medical condition and that he needed to be able to quickly leave the deposition for his security, including in relation to death threats, without having to go down 30 floors and obtain his vehicle from an underground parking lot. Mr. Hardy also asserted that Mr. Diesel would need his personal security with him. Mr. Hale then offered to conduct the next day's deposition at defense counsel's office. Mr. Hardy again asserted that Mr. Diesel was not in the city. Mr. Hale asked when Mr. Diesel left the city and where he was, but Mr. Hardy would not provide that information. Mr. Hardy laid out several conditions for a rescheduled deposition of Vin Diesel. 1, that the deposition be conducted for no more than 7 hours. 2, that a protective order be in place to protect the defendant's financial, medical, and sexual privacy. 3, that the deposition take place at defense counsel's office or remotely. And 4, that the deposition only occur following the hearing on defendant's just filed motion for summary judgment adjudication, set for October 7th, 2025, nearly 2 months after the current trial date of August 18th. At no time did Mr. Hale agree to forego filing a motion to compel, while the parties further met and conferred at an informal discovery conference or in any other venue. So that's the news, I guess, about the whole Vin Diesel thing. Again, I understand, right? Friedman may have got aggressive in that situation. Okay. Things may have got heated. We don't know. I mean, that's just one side's filing as well. So we have yet to see, the other side's response, because if I remember correctly, I'm just looking through. Oh, hold on.
Neil, everybody's hiding their sexualities. He's like, Neil is more concerned about Vin Diesel's sexuality right now. This is Hollywood, so.
I mean, they've got email chains as well here. So Lively's managed to get hold of the email train between Matthew Hale and Brian Friedman and Sean Hardy, the Wayfair Friedman's law firms, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, that's I wonder if this was like another, I question everything that's being done. I wonder if this was a setup for Friedman to get Blake Lively out. I question this couple. I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I wouldn't.
This was coming.
I mean, this motion was filed on the 26th of June. So this is like not been that long ago. it doesn't include the opposition's response, and there will be a response, and it could well be, because if where is it? There we go. So I'll share another screen actually, because I like to look around and like not, that's one thing I've learned with Lively's filings, is not to just automatically believe one side just because it's being filed by a lawyer. So I don't know if you can see here, but at the top it says a source close to Friedman strongly denied the accusations, telling TMZ that Hale was actually the aggressor. The source said Hale leaned forward and shouted at Friedman when told Diesel would not appear. They also claimed that Friedman never cursed, raised a hand, or acted inappropriately, arguing that no restraining order was filed. So, again, if what happened there was true, that would be grounds to seek to go to the judge at that point and say, look, this guy can't be present for any depositions. But in that motion, they have not said that, which means that there is another side to the story, as far as I'm concerned.
I guess Friedman is going to file into, I think this one he's going to respond to.
Yeah.
I think this is actually Gottlieb's alleged threatening of Taylor Swift. It's like kind of equal of what they're accusing Friedman of in the, on the docket.
Yeah.
So it's, let's call it even. Friedman will reply or something like that.
Exactly.
But this one, judge wouldn't be able to slap Gottlieb on the hand or whatever, because this was from a legal filing.
Well, this is from the California State Court, so this is from the Superior Court. It has absolutely no business being on Judge Lyman's dockets, in the same way that the affidavit over the Taylor Swift subpoena had no business being put on Judge Lyman's docket. And I do hope that Wayfair file a motion to have it stricken from the record, because it has no relevance. Even if it's true, word for word, it's true that Friedman acted like that in a deposition. What the hell has that got to do with Lively? What's that got to do with any request for an extension of time, which is what the actual motion is?
Oh, I think like another thing is like, because Friedman had joined them much earlier, so they must have seen the communications of Friedman with the PR people of calling her a C or anything. Like she's intimidated by him, because like actually she doesn't like confrontation. She likes being the aggressor, in my opinion. She doesn't know how to like, just the way she talks and everything, she just doesn't know. She feels nervous. If you look about it, she's gonna feel nervous with Brian, and she just wants to get out of it. And I'm telling you, she has given to her lawyers, get me out of Friedman's deposition, somebody else has, because the other way didn't work out. Remember, like when that was filed, they were saying that a lawyer who filed this knows this is not possible.
Yeah.
And I think this is just another attempt. They're probably trying to get it through, like, to have Brian. Why do I keep on Brian Friedman not to depose her? It's not about the extension.
No, it's not. I think she is making a play for, look, I don't feel safe with this guy. Can you please bar him from being present at my deposition?
Not just the way she wasn't feeling safe with Baldoni. Oh my god.
Yeah. But I think that's what's going on. I mean, that's the sum total of the relevance there to.
It's transparent. It's not a thing. It's a transparent what they're trying to do, because the other way didn't work out.
No, exactly. I mean, there's over 400 pages. The rest of it is absolutely irrelevant. It's all about document production and notices for depositions, and then some emails about the production of documents and all that. It's just boring. So I'm not going to.
Will the judge have to fish through this to read this part, or like did they sorry, I haven't seen this filing. Have they highlighted that? Oh, please change. Look, page this.
Hold on.
How will the judge know to find this? Will he be like, why is this relevant?
Well, there's a declaration which basically says we've attached Exhibit A and Exhibit B. Basically, they're saying a true and copy. Do you know what? 1 second, I'll share it for everyone.
No, I'm just trying to see, like, in the declaration, do they talk about the Vin Diesel thing already in the declaration?
Yeah, in the only briefly here.
Okay.
So this is the declaration of Kristen Bender, who is one of Blake Lively's lawyers. And it just basically says, I've submitted this declaration, I'm an attorney, blah, blah, blah. I've attached an email chain, Exhibit A. And then here, point 4 says a true and correct copy of the application to 1, compel the deposition of defendant Vin Diesel and sanctions, or 2, alternatively shorten time regarding a notice motion for the same relief, publicly filed in is it Jonathan against Diesel et al. In the Superior Court of the State of California for the County of Los Angeles is attached here too. It doesn't say why it's attached. It doesn't say, Judge, go to this part. So they're going to make him read all 407 pages. Unless it's in the letter. In this. It doesn't say, read page here to here. It just says, detailed in recent filings in Los Angeles Superior Court of unprofessional and physically aggressive deposition tactics by Mr. Friedman. It doesn't confine the judge to anything, so that's ridiculous. I don't know if this is going to have anything. We agree to your...
Oh, it's all of this is literally like loading the docket, and also maybe they're trying to make the Baldoni side to spend more money on the docket. I don't know why do you include this so many pages of things, but because
go on.
Like I mean, they know it's irrelevant, and they probably have it. Like, if you look, like, their filings are so random and unnecessary sometimes. What they're talking about, like the extension of things, and then they didn't provide this. We have like, they're very vague in what they're doing, just like her claims. They never really pinpoint like what is the actual issue. They, even if they have an issue, it's so vague, their statement, just like the 50,000, it shows how exaggerated everything they do is. So I don't know, because maybe I'm not a lawyer, I don't really get triggered by the filings. It's more about what's happening in words, if that makes sense. I don't know what are the legal repercussions or like consequences of these filings, but for me it just shows they're so desperate.
Well, let's read this. This is the emails. There's only 2 emails actually, so it's not going to take too long. So we'll start with Blake Lively's counsel actually. So they write on, what date do they write? On the 7th of July. And they write to Wayfair saying, we write regarding Miss Lively's upcoming July 17th deposition, as we have emphasised in letter and on email on June 11th and June 17th, and during the parties' meet and confer on June 13th. Miss Lively's receipt and review of the film footage on which you may rely for her deposition is a necessary precondition to her sitting for a deposition in this matter. So she's telling them, I'm only coming to the deposition if I can watch the footage first. What? What?
Oh. And they are proudly attaching this?
It's amazing. She has no right. She's pushing deadlines because she's sitting here making demands. I'm wondering if Judge Lyman is going to sit up and take notice, because it just sounds like how Wayfair described her being on the film set.
She's demanding stuff from him. Probably he's tired of it too. So, like, just, I mean, assuming, alleged. Yeah, but that's why, like, her audacity speaks volumes about
it does, yeah.
her power.
I don't think this is going to help her at all. But anyway, I'll read on. So, in fact, we agreed to a continuance of Miss Lively's deposition from the originally noticed date of June 23rd to July 17th, on the understanding that all footage to be produced in this case, including the footage that may be used or relied on in Miss Lively's deposition, will be produced by July 1st. You know, it sounds like they're saying, well, because bear in mind, this is the 7th of July, right? So I can understand why Wayfair are taking this as we're not coming, because they're actually saying here, well, we only agreed to July 17th on the basis that you were going to have produced all of your information, all of this footage by July 1st. And she's about to tell them we haven't had it all. So how else could that be inferred? You know? It sounds to me like she's saying, look, you didn't meet your end of the bargain, so I'm not going to meet up mine. But we'll continue. Timely production of documents and footage is critical because, as we have repeatedly communicated, Miss Lively will not sit for a deposition more than once.
Who the fuck are you? Sorry. I'm just like,
wow.
calm your tits, lady. That's what I just want to say.
It's her lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's her fucking lawsuit.
This is exactly like her demands. This is exactly how she was behind the scenes, and the audacity. She doesn't learn. She doesn't learn.
I know.
Bitch doesn't learn. Sorry, the curses are coming right and left. I promise. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's
I'll
okay,
try to take
right? It's okay. You're saying it on behalf of me.
Yeah, thank you. You keep it legal. You can keep it above board. So.
Yeah, true. On June 26th, you estimated that you would substantially complete a production of 100 terabytes of film footage data by July 1st, with the few remaining hard drives to arrive shortly thereafter next week. Well, that's what Wayfair has said has happened. They've had the substantial production, and there's a few more hard drives to arrive later this week. That's what they, right? In response to our request for tracking numbers for the drives on July 1st, none of which we had received at the time of your email, you indicated that the majority of the drives should have arrived and that the final drive should arrive prior to the holiday. It has been nearly a week since July 1st and 4 days since the July 4th holiday, but we still do not have all the film footage. 4 days since. Hold on. So the July 4th holiday. Well, that half of that time, those 4 days is a weekend anyway. But we still do not have all the film footage you intend to produce. Instead, by July 1st, you produced 14 slip sheets allegedly corresponding to each of the hard drives you had sent or intended to send, and only 3 hard drives. Just this afternoon, you advised that there has been a processing delay, indicating that the final 3 hard drives have not even been shipped. We have repeatedly stated that timely production of the film footage is a gating issue. Miss Lively's deposition is scheduled to take place in 10 days, and as of this writing, you have refused to provide even a tracking number for the final set of hard drives that were purportedly due to arrive before July 4th. If you wish to proceed with Miss Lively's deposition on July 17th, please confirm when we can expect the remaining hard drives no later than 12 p.m. tomorrow. So let me just see what
the actual fuck is this email? Like, do you see how she's demanding? Like, as if she's doing a favor to them by going to the deposition. Girl.
So let's look at the time here, right? So this was sent on Monday, July 7th, which is the first working day after the holiday, by the way. Yeah, so that's the first working day. So you had the Friday, everything was closed, and it was July 4th. Then you had Saturday and Sunday, and this is the first working day. And she's saying, so this is 2:46 p.m., and she's saying that if Wayfarer want to continue with the deposition on the 17th, they have to respond by the Tuesday the 8th at 12 p.m. And when did they respond? Tuesday the 8th at 9:53 p.m. at night. So I take, again, that's a second point. I would say, oh, well, she intends to not turn up for this deposition. But we'll continue. Assuming that all footage will in fact be delivered to us by July the 11th, we will go ahead with Miss Lively's deposition on July 17th, beginning at 10 a.m. For security reasons, Miss Lively's deposition will be held at the New York City offices of Wilkie, and he gives their address. Separate and private breakout spaces will be provided for attending parties and councils, as well as lunch and refreshments. We are happy to coordinate logistics and building access with the court reporter and videographer if you would like. For security reasons, we will require a list of all persons who wish to attend the deposition by no later than Friday the 11th. So then we've got Friedman's firm, who respond with, we agreed to your request to postpone Lively's deposition currently scheduled for July 17th. As the film footage will be produced by July 11th, please provide us with several available dates in late July for Miss Lively's deposition. Well, now I am confused. The deposition will take place. Oh, the spelling. The deposition will take place at the offices of Meester. So they're saying no to your law firm. You can come to ours, which has security as set forth in the original deposition notice. Please let us know by noon tomorrow the available alternative dates for Miss Lively's deposition and whether court intervention is necessary on the location issue. Okay, so so I don't understand why that person did suddenly actually leap to they're cancelling it, because although in two places it could be interpreted that she's, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to not turn up. But at the end of it all, she does actually say, look, if you can tell us that we're going to get this footage by July 11th, we will go ahead. So I'm not sure. It's bizarre. That's the sum total of the filings that I've for today. But yeah, it's really, really weird. I do think though that they are trying to yeet Friedman off this myself.
Oh yeah, there's literally no other reason as to why they would put this as part of the extension. They could have made a separate filing for this, right? Like if they wanted it. Why is this part of the extension claim?
Have you seen this? So I'm hoping I don't butcher the name here, but I've got Vibad. And she said, oh lordy, I bet she makes them drink her Betty Buzz as part of the refreshments. So do I. I could see her using it as a mark.
She's gonna come in florals and like serve it to them, like pretend it's so cool.
Exactly, yeah. She's gonna exactly. And she have a little pop and everything.
Christina, yes, Leanne said yeet Friedman.
Yes, I did. Yeah, sorry,
we're keeping up with the times.
Yeah. Yes, I do think I think that Lively is trying to quote unquote yeet Friedman out of being at the deposition, but I genuinely got the impression from the Vin Diesel one that he had no intention of being at Lively's deposition for the 23rd of June date, because he'd already had Vin Diesel scheduled for a month.
No, like how. Also, the question would be, when did they change the date of the deposition?
Yeah, but they changed the date of the deposition for Lively.
Maybe somebody else would have taken the deposition, and then since Blakey Boo changed the date,
No, because Vin Diesel was already in place for a month, and Lively, the deposition was changed on the day.
What I'm saying is that maybe like he would have, like somebody else would have taken Vin Diesel's deposition, or somebody else from the law firm, but then he went instead, because I think Lively thing is bigger. I don't know. This is just like okay, that's maybe an overreach, or like I don't want to over explain.
Yeah.
I don't want to do what Lively Camp does, where it's like, oh, he probably did this, but it would be interesting to see.
I just think it makes us sound unreasonable, though. Not the first thing that's made us sound unreasonable. I'm just saying it's like, when we're lining up all the reasons, like, a long domino path, this is another one on the end.
Why do you think she would be unreasonable though? Like why would she be reasonable? Sorry, that's the question. Where did you get the impression that she would be reasonable?
I've got a list longer than Santa's list of all the reasons why Blake Lively is unreasonable. I don't actually have anything on the she's been reasonable list.
Yeah, there we go. That's she's gonna to be honest with the videos things, right? I feel like the Baldoni was like behind us and he's like, you're not gonna be able to fight it, just give it to her. We have nothing to hide, just give it to her. She can talk about it, she can twist it. It's gonna be like, I can just imagine this conversation happening. Baldoni has had enough. It's like, just give it to her. She's gonna like gnaw at your brains if you don't.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we have nothing to hide. You will ask questions. How much else can she twist it? You know?
But that's I can't believe though the state of this filing. How many times does Michael Gottlieb get confused between what 2 items look like and what 3 items looks like?
If it is intentional, it is intentional.
It sounded great on me a little bit though. I think it's like a bit of OCD, you know, like if you say 2. No, it doesn't even say 2 pages. Can we file no more than 2 pages? And here, let me just drop, nearly 500 pages worth of. The judge ain't going to be happy with that, I don't think. Because most of it, I think he would have helped himself if he'd said, the relevant part is section A or section B or page so and so to page this, but he doesn't. He's like, here, 407 page filing, which has fuck all to do with this court or the case, but please, judge, read it.
Yeah, I think they know. No, I think Gottlieb instead, they know they get away with so much shit with this judge, and they're just like, they don't give a shit. So, I think they just motion filing salad.
Yeah.
Yes, this is too much salad.
Yeah, this is absolutely.
This is. There should be like what is it called? Motto or like the slogan of of Lively's filings. That's what it is.
We definitely have interesting conversations about this case, as to like with all content creators do. I know you do with Omar and probably Lauren as well. I do with Lauren. I do with Cassie, CJ.
By the way, just like I want to not clarify for those of these things, it's like I really don't understand. Like, okay, I've been explained the law. I finally understood 2 or 3 weeks ago while the lawsuit was dismissed, by the way, because so far I was like, what is this? And then like I had this like I don't know what I was doing. I had this like aha moment, like I was doing some housework. I was like, okay, got it, because like all the information like we're reading and being fed, I understood that what it is. And then I started thinking, I was like, for sure Friedman knew this would get dismissed if that was the case, right? So I was like, maybe there was like they just wanted to get the story out, because if they didn't counter sue, this would have been part of the deposition, and for months Baldoni would have been labeled this way if they didn't do this. That was another thing that I was thinking, by the way. I was like, they probably knew this parts like would be dismissed, but they needed to get the story out, right? Anyway, so for me, my thing in this whole thing is like my participation or my contribution, what I am trying to add is the story behind the lawsuits, like because I don't really know what legally it means, what will be dismissed. If sometimes I listen to Omar, you, or even like some ask to lawyers, and then I'm like, oh, and then the judge files something completely different, so I don't trust the judge. So I understand the legal interpretation, but for me it's just like the humans behind it, what they're going through and what's happening, and I'm trying not to guess on the legal outcomes, but more the what is happening behind the scenes, or like the sleuthing part. This happened, that happened, and I just want to, because legally, how to say, Blake Lively might have a much stronger team, and because they have had months to prepare and they've covered all their loopholes. Whereas Baldoni is literally fighting a very strong, powerful couple, also a very legal, powerfully legal firms. You know, that's something that we shouldn't forget when we're getting angry at Friedman.
No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not angry with Friedman at all. I think he.
People are.
I know people are, and I get that, but like I know how it actually works in the real world. Like I know, you know, the logistics of handling these kind of lawsuits and things. And here he got the the PR was essential to both sides of the parties. If I was going against you in a lawsuit, Anita, right, we wouldn't give a crap about PR. It doesn't matter because we're just ordinary everyday people. Yeah. But you had a lot of parties involved here where their entire career and their livelihoods actually depended on their image, their reputation. So PR was essential. And I got to say, like, even like being in litigation with ordinary people, the one thing I find incredibly hard to get out of someone in a settlement or a negotiation is an apology. Yeah, like people will say they will okay, well, throw £50,000 or dollars. They'll throw a lot of money at defending themselves from having to say sorry or put an apology in writing. I've never seen anything like it. They're quite happy to say, well, okay, we'll pay compensation. Okay, well, we'll pay the costs of medical expenses, or we'll put this right, put that right. We'll order further training. We'll give you your job back. They'll offer all kinds of things. But as soon as you say, and we'd like a written apology, oh no, I'm not doing that. And that is essentially an image thing. That's having to write down, I'm responsible, I'm at fault, I was negligent somehow, or an apology is basically conceding that you did something wrong. And people will throw so much money at defending having to do it. They will spend loads, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds on like lawyers' fees, to have so many back and forth letter wise or telephone calls saying, yeah, my client agrees to everything except the apology. I've never actually seen anything like it until I come into law. How much value is placed on an apology? And I imagine it's a similar thing, like, that's for your average Joes is a big deal. And that's their reputation and their image and so on and so forth, But for when you're Hollywood and your image is everything, and it is such a valuable commodity, I understand why actually, neither of them really need to win the lawsuit. It is all about, oh my God, my reputation has been tainted. Blake Lively clearly thinks that someone either knows that she hasn't been smeared but doesn't like being criticized, or she genuinely believes that she has been smeared. I don't know. There is still a lot more to come out. Justin Baldoni, you can clearly see why he's fighting for his reputation. He's just, kind of taken off. This was his biggest film to date. It was Blake Lively's biggest film to date as well, for what it's worth. And, but he was really taken off with his directorial stuff. He was also the lead actor. And, he's as a studio, he's got to be able to work with other actors, other studios and financiers and producers, directors, and so on and so forth. And the damage to his reputation is massive because he wasn't that big a name to start with. So this film made him a big name. But what Friedman did very successfully was turn around the PR And I think it's made him a bigger name than he was even after the film.
Yeah. Well, with the film, he wasn't even what is it called? He wasn't part of the thing. So people were asking about it. The fans were asking. Other people didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
The fans of the book were asking. And I completely agree with the apology part. That's why, like, even with their 17 list of demands, like Sony was saying that, oh, just make sure that you write that we don't agree. You know, you don't take accountability. And also when Melissa Nathans is just like, oh, this is like a PR suicide, or not suicide, what is it called? He was saying that, oh, we take full responsibility. And actually that's what Justin Baldoni was like, apologizing to her, because just to appease her and be like, oh, I know how you feel, and because he wasn't really playing the PR, because he's not really doing those stuffs. Like, this is behind the scenes in the beginning, he wasn't really part of that world, her dirty world, where you get, he's not so privy to how evil people are, I feel like, and behind the scenes she was like trying to get like, oh, you signed the list of 17 demands, and then they made like, Sony was the one who was making sure that make sure that you don't like say that we disagree, with the insinuation and everything. Sony was the one was saying that, oh, put that in,
No, exactly.
And that was, and also like, because they didn't get that, and then with the 13th of August, the demand thing, the letter demanding that they take responsibility, because then they would have used that against them, being like, see, they took responsibility for the PR. And then she would still go ahead and be like, okay, if you don't hand over the movie rights, you did the SH thing, and then you ruined my reputation, because I stood up. Like, that was from get-go, that was their plan. They just had to switch strategies, because they realized actually he was not smearing her because of the stuff they found in Abel's phone, and that's why they had to switch strategies. That's why they had to use VanZan. Like, they told on themselves, because they couldn't get that apology. So we are completely right about apologizing means like it's a suicide. It's a career suicide for something you didn't do.
No, exactly. It's a huge thing. It really is. And that's over here as well in Britain, where, like people, like a car accident, for instance, the insurers will quite happily just pay out for the damages and so on and so forth. But don't you apologize? Don't you admit liability? They don't like it. They really don't. But I think it's like you say, it's just an image thing, and people are proud. People don't like criticism, and people don't like to admit that they're mistakes.
She's just been like around evil people all the time, and I think also like by taking to New York Times, she also thought people would come out of the woodworks and be like, oh, this also happened, with me, with Justin Baldoni, and then she would be vindicated for some reason, because other people had some experience, and not a single person had come out,
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the how to say, like in my family, I am the optimistic person. Like, I don't really think negatively of the world, but when I see like, whereas my husband is always ready, I told you so, to tell me I told you so. I think here Baldoni wins, because his story, his experience would have never come out. Even though maybe the evil prevails for now, and maybe legally it might, we know the truth will be out. All her colleagues and stuff, she will always have to, no matter how much she pretends that it's all cool, she won legally or anything, everybody will know what she did last summer. Like, also, this is something that people not forget. Like, yes, she might, I don't even know, legally she might even prevail, but her true colors have been exposed, not to only the people who already probably knew, but
Yeah.
everybody in this world, people will always side-eye her because we know the truth. And I just want to clarify another thing, not clarify my opinion. Sorry, when I say clarify, I'm trying to speak of my perception.
Yeah.
Like if you read the filings, right?
Yeah.
In order to understand Blake, you have to really, really like look for it to make sense. Whereas when you read Wayfair's filings and you read text messages, you don't try to say probably this happened. You read it and it's there. The fact is there.
Yeah.
That's what it is. When you read, when you look at the timestamps, when you look at the behavior on set, how everything was, you don't have to twist yourself into a pretzel like Leanne does when she's laughing at the filings. And this is just a fact. And yes, he has been vindicated in the court of public opinion, but not in the law yet. And I hope his law team comes through. I still have high hopes. And this VanZan thing must be the downfall, of everything. Yeah. And now that the legal case has come this far, if Lively withdraws her claims, I think that's another suicide. She cannot withdraw. She knows that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So at least the thing that they've done good is like they've brought it so far that she cannot back up, and also because she cannot throw Stephanie or Leslie under the bus because they are her co-conspirators. They know what happened.
Yeah.
And they just have to now fight the legal fight.
No,
but
exactly.
Besides that, like Lively has lost a lot, because wasn't she like to my, like, I don't know them too much, right? All I heard about, like, oh, how funny Lively and Ryan Reynolds are, and all of a sudden they just look so as if their ugly inner worlds have just come to the surface. Whenever you look at them, you don't see what you used to see before.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I do. It's I don't think she'll win at trial. If this goes to trial and Wayfair are defending themselves against her allegations of sexual harassment, I don't see her winning, because there is no smoking gun. We would have seen it by now.
Oh, we know that.
Yeah, no. So they've got excellent defenses for everything. I think that if they can get the messages that came from the VanZan subpoena out of as her evidence, get them taken out, then her retaliation claims fall apart anyway. And really, the whole, it's the retaliation aspect that is important to proceeding with the lawsuit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I think if it goes to trial, she has no way of winning.
No.
And even, like, let's say if people like smear campaign didn't happen, and if I don't think, like, for me, they were documenting everything, they were dodging every bullet and make sure that, like, Lively wasn't portrayed as evil as she was. But then people started digging shit up, like, those people, like, they can say that, oh, she started, like, there was no sexual harassment, she was after the movie, although it is not in the thing, it can still be part of their defense against her, right? Right, like how she took over the movie and the timeline, everything, it is still part of his defense. It's not on the offense, it's part of his defense.
Yes, it absolutely is.
And people,
all of this will still be there, it will still come in, they'll still get to do discovery on it.
Yeah, and they will go through all of that, and people, like, will just see if the timeline is portrayed the way it was done in the timeline of relevant events, etc. Like, the jury will see it, because so many people have been part of this. you know, and they'll probably hire what Puff Daddy hired for the jury to, you know, thing. There's apparently there's a person who reads the jury and tries to get the person who will choose the right jury who would vote in your favor.
Yeah.
I can totally see her do that, you know, just like and thankfully, like, the people who will hear about this case for the first time, they will be brought in facts as they are. As you know, it won't be like they have already, how to say, have a dark vision of Baldoni, and then it will take a week or two until everything, actually not to the exhibit, the timeline dropped like a month and 5 days later. So if it's presented well at the trial, I think it's definitely in the favor of Baldoni, but I still don't think Blake Lively will go through.
No, I agree. I
don't. I will try to find a way out of it.
Well, nothing surprises me anymore in this lawsuit. You know, when I think I've seen everything, something else happens, and I'm like, no, now I've seen everything.
Yeah,
it's been really crazy. It's yeah, it's been really crazy. Now, you know, it's like I'm waiting for someone to kind of file a motion and say, you know, you kicked up a stink that we were bringing in an A-list celebrity, Taylor Swift. Why don't you keep Vin Diesel's name out of your mouth? You know, some. Oh, I don't know. She's wild.
Yeah, I mean, are we surprised?
Yes. Well,
and by the way, and I think her lawyers, she hasn't lied to her lawyers. The lawyers know exactly what she did. That's the only way they can defend her. She cannot get away with the things that she's done. With some people were saying like, oh, maybe she lied to her lawyers and they're defending. No, they know.
No,
they came, they knocked on the door, just like, so listen, we tried to extort this little man. We thought he was very scared and everything, and it turns out he's been like documenting all the shit that we've been doing to him for the past year and a half. This is everything we have. Oh, we got all this text. It is illegal according to New York Times. Can you please help us win this case? Let's do something creative. And boom, everything started. And they got the big guns, and they were smart. It was preemptive because they knew, like, if they, what is it called? If they cannot control you, they'll try to like change image of you in people's eyes.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. So this is all boils down to that. So there is no, when people are saying that, oh, she believes this, no, she doesn't. She knows she's lying. She just has to win legally. So there's no question about her delusion. She's not delusional. She's not delusional about who she is and what she's done.
I think that there's some truth to Ryan Reynolds being the driving force behind a lot of this, but she's not, you know, an innocent wallflower by any stretch. She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's happy enough to do it.
Yeah. I think, like, also, like, there is oh my god, I need to start posting my videos. I just have anxiety about them. I don't know why. But like in Deadpool, it's Nice Pool scene.
Yeah.
When they start shooting Nice Pool, Ryan Reynolds or Lady Pool say something is like, oh, this poor guy is caught in a fight between husband and wife, like Deadpool and Lady Pool, and because of their Easter eggs, they must have been like in that fight. And then, you know, like, I have another gossipier thing. I think probably Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were on the verge of divorcing before, although they had the new baby. From what I've seen about Ryan Reynolds, and she wanted, you know, she probably wanted an empire in order not to get everything Ryan had. And that's why I was like, oh, here's your movie, here's your thing. You can also be another billionaire like the Dragons. And, you know, there must have been some jealousy and everything. It was like pattern, like two narcissists in a pod.
Yeah.
two immoral people who don't mind stepping on other people to get what they want. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And they and luckily, probably in Hollywood, out of all the people they could have stepped on, choosing the most innocent, I mean, out of all the people we know in Hollywood, person where there's literally no dirt to dig up on him.
Yeah.
I think this is their karma. This is their karma for everything that they've done. They're going down so much bigger than they would have done probably with another person. And this is like, maybe this was Baldoni's calling to, like,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I do.
Yeah. I feel for Baldoni and everything, but if somebody had to go through this, I feel so bad because he genuinely doesn't deserve it.
No,
but they literally couldn't find a single shit on Jamie or him or Sarowitz, and they've had so many months. They've had so many months to do this, and we have dug up so much on her.
Yeah,
it's it is beautiful. I think it's also very beautiful. It's sad for Baldoni and everything. Of course, it's sad. It's sympathizing, but luckily he can smile in public. From what I've seen the videos, he knows he's being supported, but of course it's better to, like, his career is kind of over in, like, you know what I mean. He's not the kind of person that his aim was Hollywood. Even if you look at his interviews, he just wanted to have a very, how to say, commercially portrayed messages that better society or something like that. That's what, like, they were talking about. That was their whole mission.
Yeah,
it's not worth it for them, so that's the sad part. And fuck you, Blake, and fuck you, Ryan. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
he took the,
sharing everyone else's sentiment, really.
Yeah, if it goes to trial, for sure he will be vindicated. There's not a single thing that Yeah.
I think so, and I do think Judge Lyman did them a favour in that sense, by kicking them out of the, just dismissing the complaint. Really, is now they can refocus their efforts on the defence, which is going to be essential anyway, because it could have been a situation where Lively wins, but also Wayfair won their counterclaim. So now they can focus all their resources and energy on just the defence. I think he also helped them possibly get off the hook for the treble damages and everything that come with Section 47.1. So, and by dismissing their complaint, it's taken out the text, because they obviously used the text messages themselves that were part of the VanZan subpoena, because they provided context, didn't they? And it kind of said, no, that's not what it said. Here's the full text exchange. By taking out their complaint, then you lose the text messages from their side. So now there's an incentive for Wayfair to try and have the text messages, pulled away as part of the evidence, which I do see them doing that. I think they should, and that's what I think they're gearing towards that with VanZan. I also think that they will be bringing an action for abuse of process, and I feel an appeal at the end of all of it is likely. That's my predictions.
I agree with you in that sense, because I also don't understand, but I do agree that there's like for me it's just out of behavior what we have observed through them. It's just like, for me it's just like Friedman understood that this judge doesn't, like, you cannot just put it in there. He better be able to back up, because if they get that dismissed somehow, it's not being like, it's their, it cannot go back on the docket, from what I understand. Like, that cannot be one of the causes of action for whatever. So they better have something strong in there to back up.
Yes.
Like they have to prove, they're waiting for the metadata, they're looking for all of these things in order to be able, like, so that the judge, like, if it dismisses that part, it will be like, shady, extra shady.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think they're just waiting. They realize that the judge is not on their side.
No, exactly. I agree. I do.
Yeah.
I
All right.
am gonna have to leave it there because
Me-
it's like
me
late
too.
here, and I know it's late for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was fun.
No, it definitely was. We will do this again. Hopefully, we'll have some stuff teed up as well, like with some notice to prepare as well, and not have a file in land 5 minutes before we were about to go live.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
I
was
think
really
you should
good.
still do. I think I told by guys, people here. I told Leanne she should do weekly recap and invite people, like what happened in the docket once a week, and just
Yeah.
go over it and rant, legally and also a bit gossipy.
Yeah, I should. I am. I'm starting a few little projects. I got something going. Was getting started as well with Cassidy. On when you got weird, strange laws which are like from hundreds of years ago, but they're still in force, and they're like just crazy laws. Like in Vatican City, it's actually illegal to die in there.
What?
So yeah, no, that's true. That's a true thing because they don't have resources for a burial or for a death certificate. So it's unenforceable, but it is actually illegal to die within.
What are you gonna do once I'm dead? Sue me?
Exactly. No, they never enforce it, but it's against the law to die. So you can't go in there and like. I don't really know because obviously the Pope dies in there as well. But yeah, it's an absurd law, but it's in force. But we've got something like that, and we're going to do like notorious historical murders and things like that, medieval crime and punishment. So we've got a whole segment planned where we'll be doing a weekly show of that. So I really need to do. You're right, like a weekly of this as well, and
You're gonna have to quit your full-time job, Leanne.
Well, I'm at home anyway because I look after my little girl who's she's got nasogastric tube, so she's tube fed, so she needs around the clock care. So I'm at home anyway with her, so it kind of
is a good distraction too for you, right?
yeah. This actually does take me out, like out of all of that to just have a bit of time doing something I enjoy. So yeah, this is my thing. But yes,
You're great. You're X. I don't even read the dockets anymore. Before I used to. Before I wasn't on X before. Once when I got there, I was like, okay, let me see what Leanne has to say. So thank you for that.
No, it's all right. A lot of people actually, there's quite a few creators as well who actually say, oh, save me the hassle, save me the cost to go into the dockets and, you do all the reading and then you kind of summarize it and, in easy to read format. So it does save them a lot of time so they can get on with other things as well. So it's a good community where we kind of all help each other. So that's really nice.
Yeah, I agree. All right. It's like past midnight for me already.
Yeah. No, it's fine. So thank you very much for joining me, though. I definitely come back and it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, have a nice weekend. I've got my eyes on your X account.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.